First of all, welcome. And I hope to help you here today, right? The main point here is to leave you with a different point of view about personal branding, right? We're going to talk a little bit about what is personal branding, but we're also going to give you practical examples. We're going to try to really help you to change a little bit the way you are expressing yourself, the way you talk about yourself, and to do many other things on your GitHub, on your LinkedIn, and this kind of thing. So, as Camila mentioned, I am Vitor. I am from Brazil. I am a software engineer. I have a lot of experience working with different projects. So, this is a little bit of our agenda. We're going to cover a little bit what personal branding actually is. We're going to define it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how to build a powerful GitHub, right? It's really important to have a good GitHub when we are software engineers, but also important to have a good LinkedIn. And I'm going to give you 5 practical steps that you can follow and improve your LinkedIn. Then we're going to have our conclusion to wrap everything up. And then we're going to have our practice. So don't leave the webinar before the end, because we're going to practice a lot and it's going to be pretty fun. I hope you guys enjoy a lot this time. As Camila mentioned, during this webinar, you can use the Q&A section here to send your questions. We're going to answer them by the end of the presentation. You can also use the chat to send any other information that you have if you want to share something. And we're going to use the chat a lot during the practice. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go. Let's define what personal branding is. What is this thing that we're talking about today? So to get started, I would like to start with a story. Let's talk about a person who is like you and me, right? We are both software engineers, and Alex is also a software engineer. He was he is a skilled software engineer, and the accuracy and speed he could develop applications amazed his colleagues. He was really good programmer. He could do anything you imagine. He was a ninja, right? On the coding profession. However, Alex shied away from personal branding and networking, dedicating solely to coding. Maybe you find yourself in the same or something similar. You don't really like to talk about yourself. You don't like to share many posts or to write information about yourself on LinkedIn, for example. Alex used to do this. He shied away from personal branding and networking. So as time passed, new opportunities started to arise. This is something that happens to everyone, right? However, when they looked, at Alex's online profiles, they found them virtually non-existent. People tried to access his GitHub, his LinkedIn, or they found non-existent, or the ones that existed were really empty without many accurate information. So there were no blog posts, no open source contributions, and barely any presence on professional networking platforms. Other developers who maintained active blogs and social media accounts were able to showcase their expertise to the world, making them much more appealing candidates. So despite his undeniable coding skills, he found himself stuck in the same role, working on similar projects. Alex has watched his peers take on exciting new challenges, some even launching their own startups and moving to other countries. But I have a good news for you. Not only for Alex, but for you who is watching this webinar. Something happened to Alex that changed his career. And I really want this webinar to do the same for you. I would like you to watch this webinar and change your career, the way that you see your own personal branding, and change the way you express yourself, to connect to more people, to be inspired by what you do. What happened to Alex? One day, as Alex was reflecting on his career path, he realized that personal branding could help him to create new connections and open doors to new opportunities. So he began writing blog posts about his coding techniques, contributing to open source projects, and attending to local meetups. So by doing that, things changed. And these techniques that Alex has used is what we're going to see. We're going to learn many techniques here, many step-by-step processes that can help you to do the same that Alex has done. So over time, Alex's efforts began to bear fruit. He started receiving invitations to speak at conferences, mentor junior developers, and collaborate on exciting projects. Slowly but steadily, he rebuilt his professional image and expanded his network. Great, right? It's pretty good. But maybe you are thinking, Vitor, you're talking about this thing of, you are talking about personal branding, right? But what personal branding is not? I always like to start defining things, but what they are not, I think it's easier to do. So first thing is not bragging. So it's not like you're talking about yourself in a very brag way. It's not that. It's not self-promotion, and it's not fake or unauthentic statements about yourself. So what we are talking about here is something that is true. It's something that really comes from the bottom of your heart, something that really makes you passionate about your profession and that you want to show to other people. But we can also define personal branding, what personal branding is. So many people see personal branding as a numbers game. The more people you know, the better it will be. But in fact, you shouldn't just farm relationships. Look at this expression. You shouldn't just farm relationships. So if you have like a really huge crop and you are farming, it's not like that. You have to grow them. It's something that takes time. It's not easy, but we can get there. It's more about depth than width. If you have to leave this webinar with one information, this is the one. It's more about depth than width. So it's more about knowing people really well and having real connections to these people than knowing many different people and having shallow connections, weak connections. So how to build my own personal brand? 4 steps. So like this ladder, like this stairs here, you're going to see these steps that you can take, 4 steps that you can take to get there. So I present you the JAS system. Let's call it like that, right? JAS system. I created this, okay? It's something that I made up. So what JAS mean? The G stands for goals. The E for expertise, A for audience, and S for statement. So it's an easier way to remember this, okay? Remember the JAS, and it's going to be easier for you to remember about that. Let's dive into each of these 4. First of them all, the G, figure out your goal, right? Like this dart here, you know where you want to go. You know where you want to aim, right? What do you want your personal brand to help you accomplish? Think about yourself now. Every time that I say something here, you should think about your own point of view, your own personality, okay? So are you trying to change the direction of your career? Is this what you want to do? Do you want to be hired by a company in a specific country? Are you looking for a promotion in your current job? Are you building your own business and want to share products and services with your audience? What is your goal? Write this goal. Everything that I say here, write down. You want to know what you want. Whatever your goal is, write it down, as I said, in order to know the expected outcome. So every time we do something, we need to know the expected result. What is the result you want? This is the first step. Let's move to the E from the GIAs, right? Define your expertise. What are the things that make you unique? What are the things that make you different from everybody else? Are there specific talents and expertise you've acquired? Maybe there's something only you can provide. You are a ninja at this ability. What is this? What is the greatest thing you can provide to a company or to someone or as a service? What do you know more about than most people? Sit down and make a list. And when I say sit down and make a list, it's really important because you will be surprised by the number of things that you have as great skills, right? It's really important to make this list and to know your goal, the G, and also what your expertise has to offer. Moving on to the audience. So now first part, we were looking about ourselves. We were looking inside ourselves. Now we're going to look to the world, to the people who we're going to connect. Who can most gain from what you have to share? So maybe from my abilities, I think maybe companies related, I don't know, maybe to the education world or to the finance world, to the food and beverages industry. This is my audience. These are the people who can benefit from my services. How exactly you use yourself, how exactly can you see yourself helping them? So look at these people and say, okay, how can I help these people here to achieve their goals through my expertise? Create a mission statement. This is something that sometimes we tend to think that is not necessary. Okay, I'm gonna write my mission statement. But let me tell you something. Most of the time, when we write a mission statement, we are not writing for other people to read. We are writing for ourselves. When you write your mission statement, you are talking to yourself. You're telling yourself what is your mission and what you want to get with that mission. So don't think this is something unnecessary. This is for you. It's good for you. So let's take a look here. To help you write and to create this mission statement, you can think about who you are, what do you do, who do you do it for, and what is the transformation you create. If you see these phrases, if you read these phrases well, you will understand that they talk about the other letters here, the goal, the expertise, and the audience. They're basically talking about the previous letters, the previous steps that we have taken. So really interesting, really important here. Write your mission. And your mission has to do with all the other experiences that you were talking about, okay? Pretty good. So this is how you can define your personal branding. So by doing that, you will find out who the person you are, the audience you talk about, and everything that you need to know from moving forward, okay? Okay, so knowing that, we can also talk a little bit about GitHub. GitHub is a really important platform for us software developers. I myself use GitHub not only for deploying my code there to commit there. Actually, I don't even use that much in that way. I use GitHub on my master's degree. I use this platform to data mine information and to use that in order to understand how the industry of software development is going. So this is a really important platform. If you are a really if you want to really showcase yourself, to stand out, that's the way to go, right? So the key to a powerful GitHub, if we can say so, are the junction here between these three, right? We talk about technical skills, effective communication, and strategic approach. If you combine these three, the intersection will be a really powerful GitHub. So if you want to know the key for that, you have to keep in mind these three. We're going to explore all of these three, each of these three, and understand how you can transform your own GitHub into a really powerful one. So let's start by technical skills. You can see here, I've let here those circles here, and so that you can follow with me, okay? And this part, there will be much text on the screen, okay? I've written a lot because it's really important. So write down everything, read everything that is here, okay? Don't forget that. So let's start here. Maintain a clean and organized repository structure. When people want to look at your repositories, they want to understand it, right? If you want to talk about yourself, it must be clear. And if you want to show your code to people, it must be clean and organized. So organize your repositories with a clear and descriptive names. Use folders to group related topics. Include README in each repository to provide an overview of the project, installation, instructions, usage guidelines, and any relevant badge or links. This is pretty important. People need to look to you and understand what you can do. Showcase quality projects. What do I mean by showcase? It's not only show, it's showcase. It's different. Highlight your best work on your profile. So you have like 10 projects. Take like the number one, the one you think it's the best, and talk about it on your profile. These projects should demonstrate a range of skills and technologies you are proficient in. Include projects that align with your personal brand and career goals. Remember the personal branding that we were talking here, how to define your own? Look at your GitHub and say, okay, how can I turn my GitHub into something that talks to my audience, but also show what I can do, what I can provide as a service that reflects my mission statement. Use meaningful commit messages. This one is really good, and probably you have already heard about that. It's something that we talk a lot. When you commit something and you write like nothing, or you write like a letter just to commit because sometimes it's mandatory to write something, don't do that, okay? People want to know what you are committing about. Maybe it's just an update. Maybe it's something really important. Write about it in a clear way. Write clear and concise commit messages that explain the purpose of each change. A well-maintained commit history shows your attention to detail and commitment to quality code. So pay attention. It's not only showing to people that you can write good commit messages. No, it shows that you are committed, that you have attention to detail. Every time I look to the commit messages of this person, there are always really good comments. This person is really attained to the detail. And finally, highlight skills and technologies. Use GitHub's languages and most used topics sections to showcase the language and technologies you are proficient in. Maybe you didn't even know these sections existed. And I invite you to, after the webinar, take a look at the GitHub options that we have to showcase ourselves, to explain what we can do there. Include relevant tags in your repository descriptions to make them more discoverable. This is important. When people search for some developers on GitHub, they will often look to these tags, right? So keep your tags. Great. Let's move to the next one. Effective communication, right? So we talked about the first circle. Now we are on the second circle, effective communication. How can I communicate myself in GitHub? Isn't this weird? No, it's magic. Pay attention here. Let's go. Write clear and informative READMEs. Create detailed README files for your projects. These should include project description, installation, pretty much what we have said there that time, but clearly explain the problem the project solves and how it works. So you can think about the READMEs as something that will communicate to people. Don't think that the README is just a technical observation. Oh, I need to do that because people say it's important. No, you are communicating. You are effectively talking to people on the README. So it's really important to have a lot of attention on there. Engage with the community. Participate in discussions or issues and pull requests in other open source projects. GitHub is a collaborative platform. So the more you collaborate, the higher is your score, right, inside the platform. So if people are looking for you and you have a really high score, you will probably have more attention to you. Follow developers and projects that align with your interests and goals. Last one, write technical blog posts. This is maybe the hardest one, but also the one that can also stand you out the most. Consider creating a blog within your GitHub repository or linking to an external blog. So you can also have your own blog, for example, or use a section on other websites, but link it on your GitHub. Write about technical topics, coding challenges, and solutions you've discovered. It's really important to do that. Sometimes you are like Alex, you are a really good programmer, but you don't talk about it. You don't talk about what you have achieved. So how people will ever know they want? You need to talk about that. Great. Let's move to the last circle of our GitHub intersection. We're going to talk about a strategic approach, how you can approach your own GitHub in a strategic way. Choose a professional username. I know sometimes you created your GitHub when you were like 15, 16 years old, maybe, and you have like that crazy name that you made up, right? I had my own, but like my Facebook username or something like that. Okay, so if you have that, try to change that to a more professional name. Your GitHub username should be a professional and easy to remember. It's the best. It's best to use your real name or a variation of it. That's the best. Regularly update your profile. This is something important, okay? Keep your profile and repositories up to date with your latest work and achievements. Sometimes we don't do that because sometimes we work for other companies and we can't really upload our code there where we can't really do much. But if you have any other project that you are working for yourself or learning any new language or something like that, try to upload there, okay? To keep that always moving. Engage with the GitHub community by responding to comments and feedback on your repositories. Engage with people. Include code samples and contributions. Share code snippets or examples that showcase your coding style and problem-solving skills. Contribute to open source projects. So you can go to a project that you find interesting. Oh, I like games. So go to a game repository, try to understand what are the issues they need to solve. What are the bugs? Try to demonstrate your collaboration and your community involvement. Great. So by doing that, let me come back to my slide here just for a while. By doing that, you get these three different aspects interconnected. You have the intersection of a very good, a really powerful GitHub. This is the key to a really powerful GitHub. So 5 steps to improve your LinkedIn. Let's talk about these 5 steps. Step number 1, profile optimization. So look to the profile you already have and think about the things that you can optimize. There is always a space. There is always something that you can improve. The first thing you could assess, if you can change, is your photo. Sometimes we use photos from years ago or in a background that is not really interesting. So try to use a professional photo that also talks a little bit about your personality. So if you were a person who likes to be always smiling, you can smile, but if you are a more serious person, be like yourself, but try to keep it professional. It's really weird when I find, or it's really strange when I find a really well-written profile, but the photo is like, it doesn't match, right, with the profile. So be aware. Craft an attention-grabbing headline. Headline is something that is often really discussed when we talk about GitHub. Some people say you should do A or B, but the most important is everybody's trying to help you to have a really attention-grabbing headline, right? So it doesn't really matter the way you structure it. You can actually structure it in many different ways, in ways that are really interesting. But the most important is you must grab attention. People who are your audience, remember of your audience, you have to keep in mind. So people who are going to look to my profile, what do they need to know about me that is so important? And how can I grab your attention as soon as they read? That's the phrase you need. Write a compelling summary with keywords. Your summary should not only talk about your technical skills. You should talk about your technical skills, but also your soft skills, your interpersonal skills, the results you have provided to companies, to institutions on projects. So, okay, so I know JavaScript, but with JavaScript, I have helped a company to develop a web application that helped thousands of users. And this changed the profitability of the company. So see, it's the way you use your skills to get results. It's more about the results than the skill itself. You should show companies in your summary that you can help them achieve their goals. As soon as your audience is defined, you can think, okay, so what is my audience looking when they look to my profile? And write what they want to listen. You wanna write music to their ears, right? Write that the way you can help them. Don't lie, okay? Please don't write something that is not true about yourself. This you should never do. But write it in a way that can demonstrate the power you have in yourself. Highlight achievements and skills in your experience section. So the same way that you have written about your achievements and your skills in a more general way in your summary, for each experience, you should talk about the experiences and the skills that you have achieved in each of those experiences, okay? So when I worked for this company, I helped them to achieve these goals. These numbers here got better because of my work, because the team that I worked for or with. Seek recommendations and endorse relevant skills. It's really interesting when you find a profile with many recommendations, right? My profile itself, the first time that I got some recommendations, I asked for the recommendations. Okay, I went to some of friends, some people who worked with me, and say, hey, did you like my work when we worked together? And people usually say yes. But and I said, could you write something about me? And if you write, I can write for you. So you do like an exchange, right? It's not just, oh, write something for me, please. No, you say, if you write for me, I will write for you. And people get more interested about that. And by doing that, you can get really good recommendations and get even more close to people, right? People will say, oh, this person here wrote something for me and this was really interesting. So do that. Okay, it's interesting. Content sharing. Okay, so every time we think about LinkedIn, we think about that feed. There are many people talking. There are many people sharing and talking about their own careers. And you also have profiles. Okay, for me, this is the way I see LinkedIn. These are the two main features of this platform. You have like the feed and you have the profiles, the profile pages. So most part of the time, we are too much worried about our profiles and we don't think about the feed. But that's the greatest tip. If you go through a direction that very few people are going, you can really get different in that platform. Okay, there is a really low number of people who share information on LinkedIn, and those who do really stand out. So as soon as you have defined your audience, as we were talking, think about posts. It doesn't really need to be really complex. It doesn't really need to be really beautiful. You really need to post things that can engage with the right people, right? So share valuable articles and insights. It can be your own insights, but you can also share things that you learn from other sources. Create original content to showcase expertise. It's a really good way to say, hey, so I was working with this project. Here's a screenshot of it. And with this project, we have done this thing in a different way, and we could improve the performance, the overall performance of this application in X%. It's already good. Okay, you're talking about yourself, but in a way that people can be interested, right? Maintain a consistent posting schedule. So, okay, I'm going to start posting today, and then I'm going to keep doing that. Every week I'm going to post. Mix curated and original content for variety. So you don't need always to share things about you or your work. You can just share the button, share. You can use that to share content from other people. So building a strong network. This is the place or the step that some people think are a numbers game, as we were talking in the beginning. And let me refrain to that phrase. It's more about depth than width. Try to connect truly with people instead of connecting to a lot of people in a very shallow or weak way. So connect strategically with industry professionals. Try to find those people who are key to your profile, who are key to your career, and try to connect them. But connect in a real way. Try to send a message. Try to interact. Oh, so what are the challenges that you're facing in your career right now? I face these challenges, and then you have an exchange. You talk about, right? You're chatting. Personalized connection requests. Yeah, that's something that really few people do. When you send a request just to follow or just to connect with a person, you can also write a message. I don't know if you know that, but you can. And it really grabs attention. People really tend to give you more attention when you write a message. Engage with connections content to foster relationships. So you remember that person that you just sent a message, comment on his post. Most likely he or she will also comment on your posts, and then you will have more people interacting with you and your connection is going to get stronger. Can you see how all of these tips are not about the numbers? It's about depth. It's about quality of connections. Engagement and interaction. Comment thoughtfully on relevant posts. So think about what you're going to comment. Don't just write it out. Attend virtual events and webinars like you are doing here today. Congratulations. One of the steps, you, you are already doing something, right? Participate in LinkedIn groups for networking. You can find really interesting people on these groups, and I'm pretty sure you can use it in a very good way, right? So these were the steps. These were the 4 steps. There is one more. Personal brand consistency. So align content with your personal brand goals. Yeah, remember those goals that we were talking in the beginning. How you can make your person. What is your goal? The first thing that we talked today, the goal. Remember that? You have to align your LinkedIn with your goal. Align your GitHub to your goal, because everything needs to talk about the same thing. Your main target, your goal. So keep that always in mind. Maintain an authentic and consistent voice. How are you going to talk to these people? You are a person who likes to talk in an informal way, or you are more formal. That's okay. That's the way you talk. There's nothing wrong about it. You just need to know the way you do. Highlight achievements, projects, and awards. Maybe you have an article published. Maybe you are in the academy, like I am. So every time I have something new to talk about my project, I can share there. Use analytics to adapt your strategy. This is something that maybe you can pay for some analytics on LinkedIn, but there are also some free features that you can use. But all in all, you can use analytics to adapt your strategy to see if you're really going through the right way, if you're connecting to the right people or not, all this kind of thing. Great, guys. So we are almost in the end. Remember Alex that we were talking in the beginning? So the tale of Alex serves as a reminder that personal branding isn't just about vanity or self-promotion. It's not. It's a way to showcase the skills, connect with others, to seize opportunities that might otherwise remain hidden. Developers like Alex, like you, like me, should always keep in mind that a balance between coding skills and personal branding is key to fulfilling and successful career. So the most important message here is it's not talking about only your technical skills. It's talking about how your technical skills can provide results to company, provide results to real people, how you can make the difference in the world, and how to tell people about these skills. It's about sharing with the world the power that you have. That's personal branding. So in summary, we have some phrases here. Personal branding is not bragging. Presenting soft skills is as important as presenting hard skills. Use the discussed tools and approaches to improve online personal branding and connect to people prioritizing depth rather than width. Okay?
So the question from Yasmin is that create a tech blog helps to build a personal branding.
Great, good question, Yasmin. Thank you for your question. Yes, you can actually not only use those blog tools like Stack Overflow or other tools, but you can also talk about create your own website. I wanted to have some slides here in this presentation about your own website, but the time wouldn't allow me to present. But it's really important to keep in mind that the more you showcase your abilities and the way you can discuss technical problems online, people will see that, okay? And when you are maybe on a recruiting process, the recruiters, they will look to this and say, wow, this person here really can discuss problems. He or she can really solve problems. So it's really important to keep that in mind, and you can use either those ones that are pre-made like Stack Overflow, but you can also create your own website. And the main advantage of your own website is that you have the full control of it, right?
Sure. Great. Yeah, awesome. And regarding, still connected to that, we have another question here. How often do I need to post articles or insights on LinkedIn or tech blog or any other articles like that?
Great. That will depend really on your goal, right? Remember the first thing we were talking in the beginning, you need to know what you want to achieve. If you were looking to getting new customers to your company, maybe it will make more sense to post more because you need to you need to keep a lot of presence online. People need to be always reminding you and knowing you. But if you are not, if you're just trying to keep people warm about this, what you can offer, like a software engineer, maybe to connect to more people, you can have a different schedule. So it really depends on what you want to do. It's really hard to say that you have to post every week or every month because it really depends on that. So try to define first your goal and think how your posts can help you achieve that. And then you will find your own answer.
Great. Yeah, great. Setting up the goals first. Yeah, good. All right. So another question here. What if I use avatars on my profile photo on LinkedIn? What do you think about that instead of a picture of myself?
Okay, that's a little controversial question, I think. But thinking rationally, I would also come back to the goal, right? Because maybe if you're like on a relaxed industry that can correlate to YouTube or something that is more relaxed, you don't really need a lot of formalism. Maybe that photo you will connect more as an avatar to your audience than a really formal picture. And the opposite is always also it's also true, right? If you work for an industry that is a lot of it's really formal, or you want to move to a country that they take formality really into account, you should also consider not using an avatar, for example. So always keep in mind your goal and your audience, and mailing your audience in this case will help you find out if you can or you cannot use an avatar, okay? But usually that's it. Think about the people who are going to see that.
Yeah, based on my experience at VanHack, for example, we really encourage our candidates to have a great profile picture on their VanHack profiles, because this also helps to connect with the companies and recruiters. They will have your face in mind, you know, so whenever they see something on LinkedIn or any other platform, they will remember you. So yeah, I recommend using your a great profile pictures also. Yeah, let's move on here. We have other questions. This one's about GitHub. So I'm working for a private company and their repository is private. So I solve pretty complex bugs for them, but I just cannot share them publicly. So the GitHub thing really does not apply to me here, but this can be showcased on my resume or LinkedIn. So is there any other way for this to be highlighted? What do you recommend, Vitor? This is really
Thank you
tricky.
for this
I've seen
question.
this question before. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have a really clever solution for that, because I found myself in the same way. I find myself in the same way, right? So the thing that I like to do, I don't do this anymore for myself. So I'd be lying if I tell that it's still there. But the thing that I've done was to create a web page for myself that showcased the project that I conducted. So I instead of showing the code, if you don't have any NDA or something that can allow you to talk about the project, you can create like a video or share some images talking about the project. So instead of sharing the code itself, you can create your own web page, and you can say, okay, so like I am Vitor, I am a software engineer, and these are my projects. So you then have a video or you have a text with some pictures to talk about the project without sharing necessarily the code, so that you can take some screenshots, and then you can showcase. Of course, you would have to align that with the company that you worked for to see if there is not, if you're not committing any crime or something, like maybe you have a contract like an NDA, right? A non-disclosure agreement that you have to keep it. You can't share anything, but sometimes there is some flexibility. So then you can talk about the project, but you can't really show the code, so that you can use that in your favor. Okay, so I would do that, and I have done that, and it really worked. But it really depends on your goal and what you really want to achieve.
Great. Yeah, great tips here. Yeah, this is tricky, but there are some workarounds. Great. Thank you, Vitor.
There are some workarounds.
Yeah, perfect. So I have another question here. It's also related to that. So I'm currently studying data analytics as a master's degree. How do I get to use GitHub to showcase projects? So I'm assuming projects related to the master's, right? Would it be the coursework projects I'm doing, or I have to create personal projects? So please let me know what you think about that.
Great. So you're in the journey that I am almost finishing.
Yay!
Yes, I'm almost finishing my master. I actually have finished like the project itself. I'm writing my thesis, right? So yeah, the thing that I really like to think is on science, everything that you do, you can try to publish, right? Or in a really classical way. So you write to a journal or write to an event. But the code that you produce, it's really good for all these articles that you publish to keep it on GitHub. So, for example, this year I have published 2 different papers and with 2 parts of my project. So I have taken that part of like that snippet of the code, the whole code, and I've published, I've committed to my GitHub, and on the paper, on the article, I wrote a footnote with the link, so that people who read my article, they can find out what I have done, right? So it's a way to keep your GitHub in movement, and also to show people who are reading your article a way to actually see the code that you produced and see that you are not lying about what you wrote on your paper, right? So that's the best tip. Every time you write an article and this article has some code related to it, you can just share on GitHub.
Perfect, perfect. I know our time is almost up. I think we won't have time for the practical exercise, but perhaps we can send them after the webinar and the proposed practical exercise. But I do have the final question, if you can answer, Vitor, because I think it's also important. So do you have any tips for junior developers? Because we have someone asking here because he's feeling that, or he or she, I'm sorry, that those tips are more for people that already have a lot of experience to showcase and so on. So any tips for junior developers or someone that is getting started?
Sure. So welcome to the journey of software developing. This is a really challenging journey, but a really rewarding one. When you see people using what you have done, you get really proud about that. It's really good. So welcome. I'm 100% sure you will love it. But the tip that I have for you is people usually are looking for other people who can provide results. So don't really be worried if you are learning a stack that you think is like, oh, in 5 years, this will be outdated. This is the first thing you have to keep in mind is technologies, they come and they die. And we always have to think that they are just tools that we as software developers learn to use. So what you have to keep in mind is you need to be a good problem solver. Regarding the technology, you don't really need to know the best technology, Python with the best way of AI. No, keep that in mind. You have to give good results. As soon as you have some results, it doesn't need to be like a rocket science. You just developed a simple web page. Share that. Show to people what you can do. Show people what is your ability. There will be in some place someone looking for your abilities. And if you don't share it, they will never find you. So improve yourself, never stop learning, but share it. Everything that you do, share it using the strategies that we have talked here. Yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Vitor. Yeah, I think our time is up already. I don't want to keep everyone here, and I know you also have your lunch time now. You might be starving. So thank you for taking the time during your lunch break for this webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be sending over the recording and the practical exercise so you can try it out after. And of course, you can connect with us. Vitor is always around. So if you have further questions, I'm sorry we couldn't answer them all. And don't forget to join our upcoming events. We have a hiring event coming up in 20 days, so don't miss it. It's an important opportunity if you're looking for amazing connections with companies in the US, Canada, and Europe. So apply today to join us. And we have another special webinar coming up next month. It will be all about soft skills, how to present your soft skills during technical interviews. And I'm sure that the insights that you get in the next event, it will be helpful for your LinkedIn strategies and other communications, right? So it's all about communicating. So thank you again, Vitor. It was an amazing presentation, lots of insights here. Until next time, I'll see you around. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much, Camila, and thank you for you who have watched this presentation, this webinar. It was my pleasure to be here, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah,
Peace.
absolutely. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.